Cool. Hi, everyone, and welcome to tonight's session of AWS On Air and AWS What's Next. My name is Chris Bernard, and tonight I've got with me Alan and Raja. So, Raja, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience, and we'll take it from there.
Absolutely. Hey, everybody. My name is Raja. I'm a product manager at AWS working on the containers team. Excited to talk to you guys today.
Yeah.
Alan?
Yeah. Hey guys, I'm Alan. I'm a product manager here at AWS working on the EKS team. Looking forward to our discussion.
Cool, awesome. So, since you said EKS, I believe we're going to be talking about EKS Anywhere, and then also about Amazon EKS Distro as the two big releases that are kind of like go hand in hand. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about what these releases are about?
All right. Sure, you want to get me started here? I may not stop.
We'll cut you off in 25 minutes. So, apologies if he gets lost halfway into a sentence, that's why.
All right. Okay, cool. So we made two announcements this week. The first announcement was EKS Distro, and the second was EKS Anywhere. And with EKS Distro, we heard from customers and our partners that they really wanted to take advantage of all the key learnings that we've operationalized running Kubernetes at scale with EKS. And EKS Distro is really the same conformant upstream Kubernetes that is used by Amazon EKS. We're making it available to customers so they can leverage the same versions of Kubernetes that we use in EKS and the components that we run today, as well as the latest updates and security patches that we provide so that they can use a distro with their existing open source tooling and get reliable and secure clusters without having to continuously test and track for Kubernetes updates. And a really cool feature that we've included with EKS Distro is the ability to subscribe to an SNS topic and get notified when a new EKS distro version becomes available. The EKS distro is open source and it is available now. Like you can literally go to the GitHub page and download and start using it right now. And we had a great set of partners that we announced with that published blog posts. I think it's very compelling and we're really excited about that. The second announcement is EKS Anywhere. And this is where we're providing really a new deployment type for Amazon EKS, right? That really makes setting up Kubernetes on premises kind of boring, right? We want to make it easy for customers to create and operate Kubernetes clusters on premises, now on their existing bare metal servers and virtual machines. And the way we're doing this is we want to provide a consistent experience to what they would have when they run Amazon EKS in the cloud. So this is going to be fully supported by AWS. Again, that consistent operational experience between on-premises and AWS is what helps our customers reduce complexity and cost. The EKS Anywhere cluster runs the EKS distro and comes with an opinionated set of defaults that really make it easy to install, right? But at the same time, customers can break glass and plug in their existing tooling as well to customize the installation. So EKS Anywhere, again, was announced this week, but will be available in 2021.
Okay, that sounds awesome. I mean, especially the part where you said making Kubernetes boring, because last month I turned the age where you can start chasing people off your lawn. So I'm way past the point where I want interesting software and interesting releases. So that's actually very, very good to hear. Raja, so can you maybe dig in a little bit more in terms of exactly how these two services work together and also how they differ from, let's say, traditional Kubernetes that I would install on EC2 using something like COPS?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's unpack that a little bit. I think maybe the first place to start with this is, none of this changes with what we're doing with Amazon EKS. And in fact, we think the best way for you guys to run Kubernetes still and have the best experience operating it is with Amazon EKS because it's the most option and flexibility for us to give you a managed experience in AWS. But we know that there's use cases where that just doesn't fit. There's customers, as you mentioned, that need to run EC2 or Kubernetes on EC2 in AWS itself. And a lot of those customers were asking us about some things that we've learned in the process of deploying Kubernetes. And so really at the end of the day, what we're providing here with Distro is a reflection of all those learnings that we've had with the Amazon EKS, so that customers could go and deploy that on AWS. So they get they get to remove some of the undifferentiated heavy lifting of having to track all the different updates that come out there with Kubernetes, being able to kind of make sure that they're running the most secure version, do all the compatibility testing. We've learned quite a bit in the process of operating EKS, and some of the things that we've done, we've actually packaged into and determined some of those decisions around which version of Kubernetes should you run that has all the security patches that are necessary, have all the version alignment of dependencies, and all that gets wrapped into EKS distro. And so you get some of those benefits, plus the fact that, Amazon EKS, we're part of the embargo process. So the moment that a CVE gets announced, we release it and make it available for our customers. Now, if you don't have the ability to leverage Amazon EKS for some reason, whether you're deploying on-premise or you need to deploy and manage it with your own tooling, maybe because of other reasons that you have and configuration requirements, you kind of have to do that all manually. Don't have to do that anymore. This gives you some of the benefit of that with Amazon EKS distro, but it's fully aligned with Amazon EKS. So version alignment, when we release something with Amazon EKS in terms of a new version release and support, that gets reflected in distro. And then with Anywhere, it's the tooling on top of that. So that distro is the piece that allows us to maintain consistency of versioning of Kubernetes and its dependencies between Amazon EKS and Anywhere. And with Anywhere, we're going to try to make it, again, boring. Boring is a good thing, actually. You should be focused on the applications that you're coding and getting the updates out there and delighting your customers. Let us deal with all the boring stuff that's behind the scenes. And so Anywhere is going to allow you to kind of have that by making it as easy as possible to stand up those clusters. So if you are operating outside of AWS and you need to have some consistency or just want to have an easy experience with Kubernetes, Anywhere is going to give that for you because it's going to bring up those EKS distro-based clusters. You get the notification about updates and such that are coming. You're fully aligned with what we're doing and learning with EKS and cloud. And then it's going to also bring up all the other components that are necessary to operate and manage your cluster lifecycle.
Okay, no, that definitely sounds like a whole long list of advantages. I especially like the whole idea of boring software, really. It's like we need to teach more people about this. You really don't want excitement when you're deploying software. It's the better things to get excited about. Trust me.
Yeah, I guess
So
new stuff
talking
is probably
about
exciting enough as it is. Let's leave this general stuff for us to deal with.
well, I mean, there's a reason they call it bleeding edge because you cut your
Right.
fingers and they are bleeding on the keyboard, which tends to break the keyboard, I've heard. So yeah.
Yes.
So let's dig a little bit into the ability to run this Amazon EKS distro on premise on your own hardware. So what kind of hardware do we need for this? Is there anything specific, anything special? How do we go about what do we need?
No, there's really nothing specific about this hardware. You provide us nodes, whether it's bare metal nodes or virtualized environment, and then we deploy on top. We'll install, we have an installer that a customer would run and basically a command line interface. And from there, they would spin up, run a command and spin up a cluster. Again, we are going to be, by default, provide an opinionated installation. So as long as they have basic networking enabled, we layer on top and we'll deploy our cluster environment. Also, there are numerous capabilities that I think we can bring and extend from AWS. And one is, for example, there are some investments that we've made in the EKS console so that you can connect to Kubernetes clusters that are outside of the EKS cloud environment. So an example would be being able to connect your Kubernetes cluster that's running on your bare metal environment on premises to EKS console and be able to get a single view into all your clusters that are running across all your environments. So this is something that our customers have been asking us for, and we're pretty excited about that.
Okay, that actually sounds super awesome. So let's just quickly dig a little bit into what's the difference. We've listed a whole bunch of things that seem to be a good idea to run this. But if I've got a stubborn person that says, no, well, I still want to run my own, homebrew version of Kubernetes. How do we go about, convincing them and showing them exactly where some of the top benefits are?
Yeah,
Yes.
Raja, you want to take that?
Yeah, I'll jump in here. So, I mean, I think when we talk to those customers, there's a couple questions. I think the first we need to understand more is what it is that's requiring or necessitating them to operate their own clusters using Homebrew or upstream Kubernetes. And I think oftentimes when we talk to those customers, they tell us that it's because they have some strong requirements for configuration, they have some strong requirements for, and they've built up a lot of strong skill set in a team that's used to and is well and is really good at actually managing Kubernetes environments. And for those customers, that's where EKS distro makes sense, I think, most often for them because it's a small piece. Why deal with the tracking of Kubernetes versions and dependencies and compatibility
Mm.
testing and all of those bits? We can deal with that for you so you can take at least some of those parts off of it, keep running your configuration, some of the other aspects that you have. But I think as we talk to customers, there's also some of those same customers that are currently, managing self-managed Kubernetes environments. And oftentimes the reason why they need to is because they are going through either a modernization journey, they actually need to maintain some consistency across multiple environments. And if those are the reasons why that they need to kind of self-manage and they didn't really have the options to achieve some of those goals
Mm.
otherwise, that's where we could start stepping in. And certainly distro is a first step. But I think EKS Anywhere provides us some opportunity there to say, well, we can go a little bit further and do better for you. Take care of some of that cluster creation, provisioning, lifecycle management, update, patching, all of those other bits, and take that off of your hands so you don't have to. Keep running what you need to wherever you have to. But with Anywhere, you get that we're taking care of some of those bits that you're currently spending time on, and you don't necessarily need to anymore.
Mm.
Alan,
Yeah,
anything you want to add to that?
Definitely.
yeah, and you know, uh, users of Kubernetes love Kubernetes because of its declarative model, right? In terms of being able to define desired state and basically have like a controller that's running and just ensuring that things are running the way they should be running. And we want to extend that really declarative model to be more across cluster environments as well, right? So the ability to get operational consistency by using Git
Mm.
as a central place to define your configurations and how you want your clusters to operate. And being able to do that centrally, I think that's the core value, right? Eventually, Kubernetes, of course, it's hard to install and run on premises, and we're making it easier. But I think the core value proposition here that we're bringing is to provide that consistent experience
Mm.
of being able to operate Kubernetes across very different environments, so that you don't have to invest in different skill sets, different tooling, and really like skyrocket your operational expenditures, right? You have more predictability around all these various environments.
Mm. No, I've dealt with that. Before I joined AWS, I was actually doing quite a bit of consulting with various companies, and it was always interesting to come into a new company and figure out, okay, cool, so what does your build pipeline look like? Because everybody would have some kind of special build pipeline in terms of how we're doing it. So I can definitely see that there's quite a big advantage here to just saying everywhere you go, this is how you get it up and running.
Yeah.
So that's definitely going to be a good one. So when I've already got Kubernetes running on premise, what specific value is there, or any specific scenarios other than what we've discussed so far that I can get value out of EKS Anywhere? Because once again, it sounds like we could. There's definitely some value, and I know personally I'm going to be playing with the Ubuntu's snap install of the EKS distros as soon as we are, well, not quite as soon as we're done here, but tomorrow hopefully, because I've got some. I'm still of they call us box huggers. I've still got 3 or 4 microservers running here at home, and I'm definitely going to dedicate one of them to this. But I mean, what
Nice.
advantage would I get or other people get from connecting with EKS Anywhere?
Yeah. So one benefit in particular is it's really all about developer velocity, right? It's how do you take your most valuable assets and get them working on things that are going to help you differentiate your business the most, and leave the boring stuff for us, right? And I think that's ultimately, the one of the biggest value propositions that we're, pushing forward with EKS Anywhere. There are cases Raja mentioned earlier on where certain applications just can't move, can't transition to the cloud overnight, and they need to run, closer to certain data due to data sovereignty issues and so forth. For those particular use cases, customers can use either the EKS distro or EKS Anywhere to basically start to modernize those applications in place and eventually move them to AWS at their own pace. Another example that's very popular is, with IoT. There's tons of data that's being generated at the edges, right? But what better place to train your models than in the cloud? So we have some amazing managed services on AWS that help you train models. One use case is being able to leverage, your EKS Anywhere environments as places where you run inference on those models. That's another great use case. Migration, right? Being able to use that consistent platform, that consistent environment between on-premise and AWS gives you more predictability around your application easily migrating from on-premises to AWS over time. Bursting is one we hear a lot about. How do you take advantage of the cloud as excess capacity? So I don't know, Raja, if you had some additional that you've been hearing.
I mean, I think one of the other challenges is that there's always an evolving set of policies from government agencies and regulatory ones. And, depending on what those are, they might need to have full control of the entire stack. Governance cases where customers need to own the entire stack itself. But where possible, they still want to have it as much as they can running in an area where they can take advantage of cloud native services as well as a managed experience. And so how do you then get that consistency across all of those bits? And so now we're kind of extending that, and those use cases get served by enabling this too. Manufacturing is a good one as well. They're oftentimes located, one globally and two in places where they don't always have consistency and durability of connectivity as well. And so being able to have some of that sensitivity, be able to manage things locally when they need to, be able to continue those operations as they require, and having that low latency in those oftentimes very unique compute environments as well, where they have very defined set of hardware that to deploy upon. This provides some of that flexibility between distro and anywhere to be able to accommodate those two.
No, definitely. I mean, it's also I've done my fair share of heavily regulated environments like payment industry as well as medical data, and I can definitely see how regulators will love us for this in terms of being able to say that, well, there's a standard way we're deploying it, it's vetted properly, and it makes things a lot simpler in those cases as well. Spinning that myself, I would much rather do this and make sure and say, listen, you know what, AWS has got the certificates and got all the regulation things in place. They've checked this already, because I dealt with some HIPAA things and we tried to do it on ourselves, and that was not a lot of fun. Funny enough, the customers are not happy.
Yeah, nothing against auditors, but I know that customers oftentimes they say, hey, here's how we do something. We're comfortable doing it this way. We really don't want to change it. Please help us maintaining this, at least so we can get through this first step. And sometimes that means having to operate that and do so in areas that they currently exist. So we want to support that.
Oh, no, definitely. Alan, so let's say people want to get started. Where can we learn more? Where can we start playing? Because I know, like I said, my starting point is going to be just doing a snap install with Ubuntu. What else is out there? What can we learn?
Yeah, so there are a couple of product pages you can go to. Is there a way for me to display a link here? Can I grab a piece of paper, write on it?
How quickly can you draw a QR code, and can you do it accurately? I can try. I've got a Sharpie.
So there are the EKS Distro product page that is up. We can provide links, and then there's the EKS Anywhere product page as well. So you can get started there with EKS Anywhere. There's actually a place you can click and sign up to hear more about EKS Anywhere preview coming up, and get updated as more and more news becomes available. There's also the GitHub repo for EKS Distro that you can go to and start to download and use it. And there's a series of blog posts that we published this week as well, Raja, right? You want to talk a bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple blog posts out there that will help you get started. One of those on our AWS open source blog as well. You can find it also in the containers blog. It'll break down exactly how you can go to get started, deploy EKS distro, get it configured, get it up and running. And also it has links to some of our partner blogs where if you're familiar with some of their tooling and are interested in some of the advantages and currently use those, you can see how to use it with, for example, Splunk, with Weave's GitOps tools as well. and leverage those along with the EKS distro. So check out the blogs in terms of, as you're getting started, understanding how this kind of fits in terms of where you should fit this into your organization, your environment, how you should use it. The blogs do a great job of actually explaining and detailing those bits out. And then showing all the other partners that are actually supporting EKS distro as well. So definitely check those out on the AWS Containers blog, as well as the open source blog too.
Awesome. No, I'm definitely going to go through those as well. I'm especially interested in the whole getting a little bit more into GitOps, because obviously I know what GitOps is. I've got a long history of doing DevOps. Now I want to see how I can make it a Dev GitOps and get more on through the Kubernetes bandwagon. So specifically, is there any other things that we want to call out to our customers that they might find useful? Because I think we've got a good idea now of what the benefits are, roughly what these two services do and how they complement each other. So is there anything specific else we would like to call out and tell them about?
Yeah, I think in general, it's really about bringing, for us, the important thing is really bringing the EKS experience to our customers so they get the value of everything that we're building, and start that journey in their environment of their choosing. So, we are, with EKS distro, we want to hear from them. We want feedback. We want to engage. Same thing with EKS Anywhere. So, this is a very exciting time for us. We are very much doubling down with the open source community around Kubernetes, and we want to collaborate very closely with the community. So hit us up. We're here. Raja and I are love to engage with all you guys.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's worth mentioning here. Sorry, go Raja.
Yeah, I was just going to add on to that too, because I think that open source bit is pretty important here. We've been pretty invested in the open source community, and this is, EKS distro provides a way for us to continue to have a much broader conversation. A lot of our investment has been in the security side, and this is kind of a good representation of that. And as we even go beyond just Kubernetes and what we're doing with EKS and sharing some of those bits, I think we have longer term, and you'll probably see this reflected in the blog post that we have for EKS distro, and then the direction we go with EKS Anywhere. The GitOps tooling, that consistency we can provide, the declarative model that Alan mentioned earlier, that's going to be an important story for us across not just EKS Anywhere, but also with EKS itself, and providing that consistency every place. So that's an important aspect as well that we're going to continue that story with.
Yeah, and
I think,
sorry, just to jump in one sec, and we are laser focused on our customers' needs, right?
Yeah.
And this is where I think there's a great opportunity to look at what are the things that our customers are really trying to do with Kubernetes, and especially the whole notion around making cluster creation an ephemeral thing, right? And enabling our customers to be able to create self-serve type developer portals, so that developer wanting to spin up a staging environment or test an application and just go to a central portal and basically request resources. So those are the kinds of things that we're really interested in figuring out and working with our customers and the community as well.
No, that's actually a very, very valid point, because I know back when I was doing consulting, everybody wanted to install Kubernetes and run with it. I'm like, I'm more than happy to install it. I can get it up and running for you very well, but what's going to happen when it breaks and I'm not here? Who's going to take that on? And, how can you spin this up yourself? So I think this is incredibly valuable for customers out there. And from my side, what I just want to mention there is piggybacking on Alan's statement around laser focus for customers. Tell us what you want. This is literally how we develop features. It's the more we hear from customers, what they want, what challenges they have. That's how we develop the features. So please reach out. There are multiple ways. Like I said, go look at the blogs. Go look on. Is this one on GitHub with a public roadmap? I'm not so sure.
It is on GitHub. Yeah, you can find the repo on GitHub for EKS distro. And there's a
okay, awesome.
Yep.
Okay, so that's also an easy way that you can
definitely engage there.
Yeah. And I think with that, I think we are just about out of time. I'm a little bit scared to give Alan another gap, because we are on time now. So with that, I think we're going to wrap up. But please, I hope you found this useful, and let us know what you want next.
Awesome.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
We'll see you.
Thank you.
And we'll see you in some of the next shows. Cheers.